The death toll in Nepal has now crossed 5,000. It stands at 5,057 and may touch 10,000. That is what the Nepalese Prime Minister is saying. The UN says 8 million people have been affected. That is more than a quarter of the country's population. The UN report is also saying that international aid has started arriving, but there is still a huge need. 1.4 million people require food aid as we speak. According to UNICEF, nearly 1 million children require urgent humanitarian assistance after this earthquake. India, of course, is already pitching in with relief and rescue operations, and aid is coming from across the world, but it may not be enough. Now, if you want to help, you can just call us. Our phone numbers are flashing on your screens. Dr. Nisha Agrawal, who's the CEO of Oxfam, is guiding you through the process in case you want to donate, send some stuff across to Nepal. Dr. Agrawal, I'm going to thank you very much for joining us this evening. What should be the basic 2 or 3 things you should keep in mind if you need to help, if you want to send any sort of help across to Nepal? Which agency should you be approaching in the first place?
You know, so as you were describing, this is a disaster of a very large scale, which is affecting 1/4 of the population. In the first few weeks, the most burning needs are food, of course, but water, clean drinking water, sanitation, shelter, people out in the open in 16 different camps, so you need tarpaulin. These are the most basic needs. Now, the most important thing is that people donate in cash. Not everything that people want to give will be useful. And there are many agencies who specialize in disaster relief. It's important to go through them because otherwise a lot of the money will be wasted. A lot of time and effort will be needed to coordinate. It's a very sad scene there where people are still out sleeping in the open, afraid of the aftershocks. So the last thing you want is a lot of well-meaning people descending on the scene and adding to the chaos and confusion.
You do not need well-intentioned but unskilled bystanders who will just land up there, probably, you know, clog the international airport, which in any case is clogged, and make matters worse. That's a good point you're bringing out, Dr. Agrawal. Let's quickly get in our callers. Our first caller is Mr. Bakar Ali, who's calling us from Hyderabad. Thank you, Mr. Ali. Good evening to you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Shreya. Hi, Shreya.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Shreya. Nisha Agrawal is doing a fantastic job. I appeal to Nisha Agrawal is that, you know, we should collect more clothes rather than money, because money will never reach to people there. We should have a camp. Every city should have a camp where people can donate their old clothes and, you know, medicines. Money will never go anywhere. Money will go in leaders' pockets only. So I think we should hold some camps there.
All right, Mr. Ali, that's a good point you're making. How do we know that the money that we are sending in is actually reaching the right people? Dr. Nisha, before I come to you, we have Mr. Balakrishnan. In fact, we have Sanjay who's calling us from Gurgaon. Sanjay, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi Shreya. I've been following your program. In fact, I was made to understand that Nepal government is not active, but today when I'm seeing all the channels, Nepal government has, you know, stood on something to do something ahead. Now, I really don't know how to help. It's a very sorrowful thing. I have heard Nisha Agrawal also, but my suggestion would be whatever we have to decide, we should decide in no time. We should just do it right here, right now, so that the aid reaches over there as soon as possible. I am no person to suggest anything, but what I can say is we should not count on time. We should just do it as soon as possible. It's like you guys in news channels who have to decide how to go about. You have your reporters over there on ground zero situations. You guys have to suggest us.
All right.
That's all I have to say.
All right. So I'm going to ask Dr. Nisha to suggest to you how you can help. Before that, Dr. Nisha, let's just quickly take in another caller. This is Mr. Balakrishnan, who's calling us from Kerala. I'm not sure where exactly in Kerala. Good evening, Mr. Balakrishnan. Thanks for joining us this evening. Please go ahead.
Yes. So many Nepalis are working in Kerala.
Okay.
They are very loving, very hardworking and honest people. And the Nepal is not just our neighbor, it is just like our brother. So in this situation, all India, all Indians in the world, those working in the world help Nepal. Because only India can the Nepal. Without India, Nepal is not in this situation.
All right. All right. Mr. Balakrishnan,
being
I'm afraid...
very humanitarian, I like to donate some amount to CNN or any if you are...
Mr. Balakrishnan, I'm afraid I will have to interrupt you. I'm going to thank you for calling, but your telephone line is terribly messy. We'll try and reconnect with you on the show once again. Raghu from Bangalore is with us at the moment. Raghu, please go ahead.
Yeah, in these kind of situations, there are a lot of, illegal or probably fake people coming up for taking the charities. So, today's paper, Times of India, has come up with this good idea, tying up with Start India and other things. So that gives us support, trust, and to go ahead and do more contribution or donations. So, these kind of things should be coming up quite often, so that a lot of other people who are not able to trust these kind of agencies. So when these kind of a big body coming up, so we could go ahead and donate things.
Okay, Raghu. We'll leave it there for the moment. I'm going straight across to Dr. Agrawal. Dr. Agrawal, Sanjay asked this question. Raghu is asking this question. I want to help out. How do I help? Which is the agency I approach? How do I know that the money I'm sending in for Nepal actually reaches the people who need it the most? Now, I know that, if a tragedy strikes India, the Prime Minister's Relief Fund is where you should send your check. But in this case, that won't work, will it?
Yes, I'm not sure if the Prime Minister's Relief Fund is collecting funds to spend in Nepal. But, there are many reputable organizations that are humanitarian organizations. So, I know Oxfam best, so I will speak about that. We started in 1942, so we've been responding to disasters for more than 70 years.
Ma'am, for the benefit of our viewers, Dr. Agrawal, for the benefit of our viewers, we do know Oxfam is one such organization. Can you name some others, say 3 to 4 others, where our viewers who want to help can go and probably send in their checks?
Yes, absolutely. There are many. As I said, we specialize in water and sanitation, but there are many other organizations that do fantastic work. Hospitals and medicines is one area. So Medicines Sans Frontier or Doctors Without Border is one. ActionAid is a very good one. Save the Children is a very good one. CARE, World Vision. There are many organizations who are doing this. So I think the idea that there aren't organizations that one can trust or who don't know what they're doing or the money will be wasted is not a very sound one. Even we have been formed as an Indian entity just in the last 6 years, and we've responded to 15 different disasters. So all the money is out there. You can see it. It's transparent. It's in our audited accounts. You can go and see the work. You can talk to people and find out what we did. So we have to trust specialized organizations and reputable organizations who've been doing this kind of work for decades.
Dr. Agrawal, we have more questions coming in, but for the moment, my producer tells me I have to slip into a very quick break. I'm going to come back to you with some more questions. Do stay on with us.
They go back to their homes to perhaps cook something, bring it here. Some people already cooking their food here out in the open. So this is how they are surviving. But the real question is for how long? Because once the rains hit, these people will need to be rehabilitated.
Good evening. Welcome back. Nepal is staring at the long road to reconstruction. A U.S. aid agency is estimating that $5 billion will be required for it. With us this evening is Dr. Nisha Agrawal, the CEO of Oxfam. She's telling us how we can help, where exactly you should be sending in your checks. She's telling us, please don't bother sending second-hand clothing to Nepal. Before I get to you, Dr. Agrawal, let's quickly get in our callers. All right, before I get our callers, there was a gentleman before we headed into a break saying, we don't know where our money is going to go. So isn't it better for us to send relief material like clothes, like medicines? Instead of cash, just buy these things and try and send them across. You're saying that's not a good idea.
That's not a good idea because we don't really know whether what people need is going to match what people can send.
Sure.
So currently, as I said, water and sanitation needs are the biggest, because if people are living in tented camps and there's no clean water and there's no toilets, there's a huge danger of epidemics, for example. Now, we need to prevent that from happening. So we don't really, and then very many times people wear one kind of clothes. Maybe in Nepal they prefer something else. In India we would be collecting something else. We don't know what medicines are needed. So, and then the infrastructure is really, really damaged. You can't really get all these goods into the country. It's much easier transferring money into the bank account and procuring whatever you need locally, depending on the need. So the first thing we do is go in and do a needs assessment. And then we decide what we need to buy, rather than just starting to collect things.
I don't mean to sound patronizing, but Nepal is one of the poorest countries on this planet, and it will need all the help it can get, not just from India, but across the world. Dr. Agrawal, we have Mahendra Mehta, who's calling us from Mumbai. Mr. Mehta, please go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Mehta.
In Mumbai, there are about 40,000 cooperative housing societies. And many of the security, much of the security is looked after.
Mr. Mehta, I'm sorry, the phone connection is not quite all right. We'll try and reconnect with you. Next is Rakesh Bhatia, who's standing by. He's calling us from Kolkata, I believe. Mr. Mehta, Mr. Bhatia, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
See, India government is doing its best to help the victims there.
Yes.
I, as a Rotarian, along with other, I'm a Rotarian, along with a lot of Rotary clubs, we are contributing whatever we can for Nepal. I would like to take this opportunity in requesting each and every earning Indian to contribute in whichever manner, whatever they can to revive Nepal back. That's one point I had. Number two, this is nothing to do with politics, but this is from the heart. Maybe Nepal and India can join hands and become merged as a big country in the near future,
I don't think that is going to happen anytime soon, Mr. Bhatia. It is a separate country with a separate constitution. Well, the constitution is not really in place, but it's a separate country. I don't think we can expect the two too much. But thank you very much for calling us. Dr. Agrawal, I'm going to give you the last word. At this point of time, what is it that you would like to tell people who want to donate? I know this is at the cost of repeating ourselves, but there are some, some messages that just need to be bombarded. It's over to you.
So I think it's the same message, that the needs are very huge. You were mentioning a figure of $5 billion. At the moment, what we see is very, very small amounts of money coming. Some different donors have announced, but they're in the order of magnitude of maybe 5 million or so. Oxfam has been able to raise $1.5 million, which is fantastic given that it's only 2 or 3 days into it. But we also would be needing to raise tens of millions of dollars because it's a long haul. It's not going to be over in the next few months. The first thing you do is rescue the people. After that, they're still going to be living in these camps for a long time, where they're going to need a lot of services. And then in 6 months or so, when they go back to their homes, the homes are damaged, their livelihoods are damaged. So even the recovery process is likely to be at least 18 months to 2 years. In that period, you would need sustained and huge amounts of support from India, from all the countries around the world. We expect to see the same kind of solidarity that people expressed at the time of the tsunami or any other large disaster that we've seen before.
Dr. Agrawal, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. The other big point you seem to want to highlight is the fact that all of you do-gooders, volunteers who are unskilled, please don't land up in Nepal and clog the airport and contribute to the confusion. What you can do is, instead of buying that international ticket to Nepal, to Kathmandu, just donate that cash to a reputable agency, is what Dr. Nisha is telling us. Dr. Nisha, thank you very much for joining us this evening. I'm sure a lot of people will log on to your website, the Oxfam's website this evening, to try and help out. I'm going to leave it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us.